Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rchakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this
Barakatah
one
Yahweh
is called And He Spake as a Dragon. And no other brothers have done videos with the same title, but this is a title that comes from the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, which we're going to read that. But before we go to that, I just want to speak on what you see in front of you, which is a fair use notice, which pretty much this video that I'm making is not for any monetary gain. It's only for educational purposes only. The reason why I said that and showed this is because I want to play a part of this clip here, which was sent to me. It says, raw video, Newsom says mass gatherings unlikely without herd immunity vaccines. So pretty much this whole COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic situation was pretty much created to push more legislation out there, draconian legislation. So pretty much the world, you know, is heading towards this, but dealing with just America, Babylon the Great, you know, these people that normally gather at these gatherings will not be able to gather unless they get vaccinated. And everything that this whole coronavirus pandemic and all that was all centered around pretty much this vaccine that they're trying to push, you know, to push the agenda of the New World Order forward. So I'm gonna let you hear what this devil says, and then we'll get into some scriptures, and that's that.
Hi, Governor. So I understand that you're not giving a key timeline of when these things are going to change. But more broadly, you've outlined some pretty radical changes in sort of what our daily life looks like in California, even as we start to lift these orders. So, we've got some pretty big holidays coming up into the summer, Memorial Day, July 4th. I mean, walk me through, if things go to plan, if we're able to, meet some of these measures, how do those big holidays, how does the summer look different for Californians? And following on that, how does the school year in the fall look different for California students if we meet all these measures and we're able to start, doing some of what you talked about?
No, I appreciate it. Look, and thank you for the question, because you've also offered me an opportunity to say something that I wasn't clear about in the initial presentation, and that is as it relates to mass gatherings. The prospect of mass gatherings is negligible at best until we get to herd immunity and we get to a vaccine.
Until we get to the herd immunity and we get to the vaccine. And that's pretty much what it's all about.
So large-scale events that bring in hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of strangers all together across every conceivable difference, health and otherwise, is not in the cards based upon our current guidelines and current expectations. Things can change radically, and we of course can have therapeutics at scale, the kind of community testing at scale, the serology tests at scale, and capacity to get vaccines earlier than we anticipated that can change that dynamic. So I want to caution my own words in that context. But when you suggest June, July, August, it is unlikely. That said, as it relates to the school year, we need to get our kids back to school. I need to get my kids back to school. We need to get our kids educated. We need to deal with their mental health and the parents' mental health. It's hard to educate your kids and then take care of everybody else that parents are required of taking care of, not least of which each other, and other responsibilities within the household.
This guy sounds nervous as hell, but they're trying to push that agenda forward. I didn't put this in the description box, so Salakia, I should have. I just put it in the comment board so brothers could go there and watch the rest of the video if they want. But pretty much you heard what he said. that those large gatherings will not be able to be done unless the herd gets vaccinated. And pretty much this is the main thing that they're pushing forward, is this agenda, because they want this vaccine in everybody. They want the total control, over the people. The Constitution is dead. You could forget about that. Trump, he could become dictator, but Trump also gave the power of the United States over into the hands of FEMA when he declared the national emergency. So right now, Trump really is not running anything, but they could bring him back and have him, to be the dictator, because, you really haven't really heard too much about any campaigning too much, I mean, it's kind of like in the background. So, we wouldn't be surprised if they just throw him up in there without even having an election this year, due to this so-called pandemic. And then they're talking about things, starting to get to normal, but then they're talking about a second wave of this coronavirus situation. So Revelation 13:11, it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth." This is America, which is the revival of the ancient Roman Empire, which is what resurrected, so to speak, the ancient Roman Empire and their image today. This is why when you look at everything that is American, as far as their politics are concerned, presidents and things of that nature, law, and different other things that they deal with, it all goes back to the Latin language, and it all goes back to the structure of the ancient Roman Empire. Just like that. And this is the reason why you have Colosseums and things of that nature, because everything in America revolves around the ancient Roman Empire, because America is the capital of the Roman Empire revived again. So America is a new Rome. And those European nations, which is NATO and the EU, are the allies that were allied back in the past with ancient Rome. So it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." And these are the two so-called opposing parties. They call it bipartisan, but which means two parties. But it's not two parties, it's a one-party system, as Anthony J. Hill stated years ago. It's just true. It's a one-party system. There's no such thing as a two-party system or a bipartisan. It's a one-party system that has the appearance of two parties fighting against each other, but they're both playing for the same team. Because the international bankers own both sides, and they own the president, the vice president, and everything else that you see. This is why Maya Angelou Barrow said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws thereof." It says, "And he spake as a dragon." So we're witnessing this beast speaking like a dragon now, which is through their legislation. The Greek word for dragon is dracon, which goes to a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan. Let's see, is there a root word to it? Probably. It doesn't really go into too much detail, but when you look up the origins of Draconian law, it was named after an Athenian lawgiver named Draco, which was known for his strict, severe punishments, even for the smallest crime. And this is what you see going on right now. People are not working, and they're talking about, that if people violate the curfews or whatever the case is, they were gonna be hit with a $500 fine. Then they was talking about a $1,000 fine. Which, how in the hell, if people are not working because they can't work, how in the hell are they gonna be able to pay these fines? And this is what it's all about. It's all about total control. It's all about making the people to be in debt. And that's what it's all about. Making people perpetual slaves through the process of debt. And that's what they call debt slaves. Proverbs 22:7, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And that's the bottom line. So the ones that borrow are servant to the lenders. And who are the lenders? The lenders are these international bankers that hold sway, over the monies of the world. And it looks like it says Ayash, which is man. Yeah, man. Because it is man that is the lender. They are the rich. And then the word Lawa. Lawa is to join, be joined. To join, be joined. Attend, to join oneself to, be joined unto. Lend, to borrow, lend. Yep. So the servant, the borrower is servant to the lender. And the same word is for borrower is for lender. And the Lord said that we would not have that option. We would not have that power, of lending, because that was a part of the blessings, that we would be the ones that lend to these nations. But when we broke the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, we lost that privilege and ended up becoming the ones that had to borrow than the ones that did the lending. Deuteronomy 28:43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And this is what we're witnessing. And this is why these devils have that power. And what they're doing is they're pushing people further and further into a corner with this draconian legislation. And there's situations going on around the world of people rioting because of the injustices that are happening from their government officials. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's stuff going on in America that they're not speaking about in the news, I don't know of anything per se, but there may be stuff going on that we don't know about because they hide everything through the media. But this whole shutdown is giving them time to rush a lot of things through, through Congress. Because, and this is why they had everybody panicking about the coronavirus and, this situation, to where they shut everything down. So if they shut everything down, basketball games, football games, and all that, people took it serious. Like, oh, they must be serious because the government shut everything down to make them focus on what? On the so-called pandemic, to get their minds off of everything else. That's why people are panicking, putting masks on, gloves, and pretty much bugging out. And while they're doing that, these devils are moving in with their draconian legislation. And how did they speak as a dragon? Through their legislation. When you go back to the different kingdoms, all them different nations, them kings, they pushed their legislation, and it was harsh, and there were severe punishments for breaking them. You go back to Antiochus Epiphanes. He tried to do what? He tried to create a one world government. Through what? Through laws, through edicts. The different Babylonian kings and Persian and Medes, at the penalty of death if you disobeyed certain of those laws and legislations and regulations. It's no different today. They're doing the same exact thing. Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And this is grievousness that they're writing. Because now no longer will you be able to gather in these large gatherings. Now no longer... when you keep watching the video, he speaks about even children in the schools being separated from now on. So this is what they wanted from the get-go, but they needed an excuse. And that's how they operate. And they operate through these unrighteous decrees. They speak sweetly with their mouth, but war is in their heart. And the war is against the people, and mainly you Israelites, so-called Negros, Latinos, and Native American Indians. The main ones that they're targeting is us. That's why it went from a Chinese virus to a black and Latino virus. And at one time, Jake wasn't wearing the mask too tough. Now, damn near every Jake you see got a mask and gloves on, and looking all nervous because they flipped the script. You see? These devils are very treacherous. It says, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees. A decree is a law. But it's not just a law, it's an unrighteous law that does not benefit the people. It takes away from the people. It makes their lives bitter. It brings more and more oppression. It says, and their right grievances which they have prescribed. And they have pre-written these things because they've been having meetings about this before it even happened. 5 years ago, Bill Gates was talking, because he was a front man. He was talking about having a pandemic that was going to be the next problem. That a nuclear war was not going to be the problem. It was going to be a pandemic that they were going to have to worry about and deal with. And then last year, lo and behold, he had something 201. And they had a fake or a trial for the coronavirus, in a case of a pandemic. And what happens? A couple of months later, they had the so-called first outbreak of the coronavirus out in China. And now it's worldwide. And they did that for the sake of pushing their legislation. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people. And that's what the main thing is. The main thing is about taking away the rights from the poor of the Lord's people, which are you Israelites, so-called Negros, Latinos, and Native American Indians. That widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless, because now everyone is what? At the mercies of the government. And now that they shut everything down and put all these decrees in place, now people have to conform. Have to take vaccines if you want to send your children to schools, if you want to go to large gatherings, if you want to be in the coliseums, if you want those bread and circuses to continue again. And, and it's not, and eventually they're going to use that power to push the mark of the beast, which is the microchip, which I did a lesson earlier, GMS on the move, and I just found out, I didn't realize that brothers did it. I believe brothers up in upstate New York had something going on that they did called GMS on the move. I didn't know that they had that, but that shows you how the spirit works. But I did that, dealing with these leaders of Israel, dealing with the mark of the beast, which is the microchip. And I still don't see it on my channel. I mean, I was able to go into my uploaded videos and click on it, and I see that there was a bunch of comments put on it, but it's still not on my page. But anyway, be it as it may, I'm going to read some of these precepts that the brothers have been putting on the comment board. Dyed garments from Basra, Psalms 11 and 2. For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privately shoot at the upright in heart. And that's what they're doing, because it's not about helping the people. It's about destroying the ones that are telling the truth. And that's the bottom line. The brother Elder Menata Zakba, Psalms 10 and 8. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and in the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. And that's exactly what it is. And that's why these things that are happening are affecting who? It's affecting the poor. It's not affecting these large companies, because these large companies got millions, billions, and trillions of dollars to where they can withstand what's happening, because they're losing money, but they still have money. You see? He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. It says, he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. And that's what he's doing through this legislation. And you notice they constantly keeping the people pacified. docile, comfortable. That there's a song, I forget who did, I think it was Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb. They had the people comfortably numb. But meanwhile, they're robbing them blind. But the people feel safe. They feel secure. But they're being robbed of everything, that they possess. Even their freedom. The brother KDC, Proverbs 4:16, for they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. Let's see. Same brother KDC, Proverbs 4:14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not into the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. Why? Because they're going to be judged for that. The brother Dexter Garner, to support the elder, the so-called Black Caucus have been betraying the people, saying their communities need more medical attention. They're making sure to give an excuse to move in on our people. And bottom line, what it is those are the guard dogs for the so-called white man. Beginning with the black woman, the black man, the Latino woman, the Latino man, and the rest of the tribes. Those are the guard dogs for Esau. And these devils know that whenever they put Jake in some position of authority, they know that they don't have to worry about the job getting done. Especially when it comes down to oppressing other Israelites. They know it's going to get done. Especially when you give the black woman, a Latino woman, power. Oh, forget about it. They want to cut off the blessing. Yep, that's right, brother. That's right. All right, so that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. So pretty much, let's go back to Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And this is the name of the lesson. And he spake as a dragon. And how is he speaking as a dragon? By his legislation, which once he passes it, he has the power to enforce it. And once it's a law, that's when it takes the form of the dragon. Because they're acting docile, they get it in there, now they got it, and they can prosecute you to the full extent of the law. For the smallest things, and that's what's happening. It's robbing the people of their freedom more and more every day, and they don't even realize that they're being taken right in front of everyone. And now they took away your bread, your circuses, because they want your full attention and focus on them. And don't be surprised if this situation escalates to where they take away your bread also, which they're slowly but surely doing, because most people now are not making any money. They're getting a portion of what they got if their unemployment benefits are coming in, the so-called stimulus package, that they're supposed to be having for these families that are not working. Now you got to go to now this is going to be the norm. When you go to stores, it's going to be, they may just leave that in place where to get into a store, you got to wait half hour to an hour outside of the store, get in the store, get what you got to get, and wait another half hour to get out to pay for your stuff. There's certain places I don't even go anymore. Like I drive by, if I see and it never fails, I see the line, I say, man, I ain't going in there, fuck that. I look for something else. Or there's certain, you got to catch them at certain times. When the lines are shorter. It says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, which is who? The Roman Empire. So who's the he? America, the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. That's exercising all the power of the first beast, because they're coming in the same steed, in the same power, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. And that's how they're doing it, because they're causing them to bow down to the ways of the ancient Roman Empire, whose deadly wound was healed because they came back into power. See? So this is what they're doing through their legislation. So the name of this lesson pretty much is and he spake as a dragon. Like I said, I didn't put this video in the description box, but what I'll do now again, I'll put it in the comment section so brothers can go to it and actually watch the rest of it, because this is going to everything started going bad, going south out there in Cali, especially in San Francisco and the surrounding areas. Now they're shunning mass gatherings unless people get the herd vaccination, the herd immunity, as you heard him say, no pun intended. Oh yes it was. So pretty much if you brothers want to watch it, go ahead and check it out, and I'm gonna leave it there because pretty much the point is already made. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say shalom. There's certain places I don't even go anymore. Like I drive by, if I see and it never, I ain't going in there. Fuck that. I look for something else. Or there's certain, you gotta catch them at certain times. When the lines are shorter.